Okay. So it's early, right? It's early. Well, for me, it's kind of early. I am drinking my coffee, so I fired up the Keurig and I got a little cup here, but it's just this one cup. It hasn't done much, and I didn't even get any sleep because I worked all this week and getting back into the groove of things and was tired. I went to bed early and everything, and then just insomnia. It's annoying. It is really, and I even had a little glass of mead. That didn't help. So anyway, you don't care about that or my sleeping issues. You probably do, but this is an Ask HershNoeie that's kind of not all over the place, but kind of in different areas, right? And this is similar to some of the things that we've seen on the Discord that a few people have actually brought up. Now, make sure you join our Discord, which is going to be down in the description box below. But this person, I wish I could make this chair taller. I can't. I can't make this chair taller. I might order. I've been on Amazon a lot, and Noelle's getting on me because I've been ordering stuff. I can't help it. Like, I find something, and then I'm like, and then it's a rabbit hole. You know how I do with rabbit holes, I keep going down them. And so I find something else, and I find something else, and I find something else, and it's like, it's bad. Like, it's bad. It's bad. And I'm not someone who's really a big shopper or anything. Like, most of the things end up in my cart. So I have a cart that's got like $1 billion worth of stuff. But, you know what I mean? I'm just like, do I pull the trigger or not? And then there's times when I'm like, I'm just gonna go on ahead and just get it. Like, I don't know. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I thought that was Noe getting up, which she ain't getting up this early. It's a Saturday. But anyhow, this person wanted to know about jobs in Seattle because they are having a difficult time with jobs. They had said that they've been working with, so this is how it goes. Hi, Herschel. I've been working with a realtor to find a house or even short-term housing to live in Seattle. I wanted to be closer to, I can't read that. I wanted to be closer, I don't know. It's a foreign word. I don't know. Sorry. They wanted to be closer to someone that they know. And they're having a hard time finding employment. They've applied at many different places. This person here states that they are an engineer. And they're having a hard time finding a job here. What should I do? I heard that prices in Seattle as far as rent prices are going down, but they also go up so often I don't know what to really do. So I've hired a realtor. And all of that is working out fine. So I can go either with the house or rent apartment. But I need to get a job, and it's very, very difficult. The firm that I work for now is not out there in Seattle. I thought it would be easy to get a job out there. I'm having a difficult time. What are some options that I can look at? What are some places I can go for? And I didn't think jobs would be that hard there in the area. Jobs are hard. And this goes to some of what has been on the Discord. We've had a few people. One of the things that happens is a lot of people move here because of jobs. And ironically, people move here because their family is out here now, or part of their family is out here, and they're looking for a job and they can't get one because unless you apply or a job is seeking you out, it's kind of hard, depending upon the career field, right? And I tell people, just because you have a particular career and you're popping where you are doesn't mean it's going to be the case here. And just because you've had 20 years experience at some place doesn't mean that you're going to get a job here, because here it's really competitive. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really competitive. One of the things that I've told people is that Seattle is the most college educated city in America, right? Per capita. There are more college grads, and we're talking not just bachelor level, but like masters and doctorate, PhDs. There are more people here that are educated than in most other cities per capita, right? And what that means is that you're going to face, even if you have a lot of education, you're going to have some very stiff competition because you're faced with people who have a tremendous amount of experience, and also they have a tremendous amount of education. So it's one of those things where it's very, very difficult. The number of people coming in, the number of jobs available, it's very, very difficult. If you think the housing situation is hard here, and it is, finding a house that suits you and that's going to be in your price range, it's going to be in the area that you want it to be, or kinda, that's very hard. But also finding a job is probably, if you haven't been sought out, it's even harder. Noelle, for example, how we got to Seattle was she just applied. Like, she saw a job ad and she applied, and it's like, whatever. And she was just looking. She was just like, let's check out Seattle. San Diego was the target, but she was like, let's just check out. I mean, it's West Coast, like I probably won't get it. And her resume was great. So they wanted to do an interview, right? And Noelle interviews exceptionally well. Like, I do pretty decent. Noelle does very, very good, right? So she ended up getting a job. But again, she just happened to come across an ad at the right time. See, the problem is Seattle is a city of time, or this region is a city of time. And what I mean by that is it depends on timing. Housing is all about timing. Renting's all about timing. Getting a job is all about timing. If you don't do those things at the right time, you're going to be pressed. It's going to be very, very difficult. There are people who will say, I'm going to be out there in the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or whatever. And it's like, that is in some places, it's not a big deal, right? 5 years is kind of like, cool. We can kind of narrow things down. We can kind of iron it out. Here, 5 years is a drastic unknown. It's really, really unknown. Like, no one has much of a clue. Other places you can kind of say, well, at that point in time, house prices might be about here and the rents will be about here, and, the job market's growing, or maybe it's tanking, or if everything goes right, all things equal, things will be about here. You can't really do that in Seattle or in this region. It is such a fast growing place that no one really knows. And if you go to a realtor and ask them, like, in 2 years, or a year and a half, where are the house prices going to be? They couldn't even tell you. Because like you said, Seattle rents fell in 2020, but they're going to start probably etching back up later in the year. Why? Because it's summer and it's the boom time. Also, if the sickness starts to peter down a little bit, you're going to see more of a rebound. So that's the constant ebb and flow here, right? But even when we have a trickle down in terms of rents in Seattle, they didn't trickle down in Tacoma, by the way. They went up. But even though you saw a little bit of a dip, it's not as major as in other places, right? Like, things are still pricey, still expensive. Like sometimes they'll say that the house prices may have dropped in Seattle and they dropped by 30,000, and people are like, ooh, but you're still having to deal with houses that are on average 740,000 or 625,000. So it's still a lot of money. And the competition for those homes are high because people compete with everything they got. They pay by far more than what the house asking price is. They come in with cash, or they have a huge deposit that they can put down and try to edge someone else out. Like, there's so many different tactics that they do. They do escalation clauses, all these different things. And so it's very difficult. Or you have a potpourri. You have a ton of people looking at one house, and really and truly the seller can sit and pick and choose and say, okay, all things kind of equal. They're all about the same. I'm going to go with this one. So it can be difficult. The job market is even harder because you have so many people with so much experience focused here, and focused outside of here and looking to move in, that you have so many people competing for the same job. You have to be pretty stellar. There are some jobs that are not going to hire people from other places. They're just not. Even if you say, I'm going to move here soon, they're not going to do that. And so that's great for people locally because they're able to say, cool, I'm already here. I can go and I can interview, do whatever I need to do, and I can start up at this time and it's no problem, right? There's a large chunk of jobs like that. There are also other jobs where you could probably be someplace else easily, and Seattle is known for that. It brings a lot of people in, no problem. It brings a lot of people in for them to start working here, but it's very difficult. Just some 9 years ago, Noelle's friends moved out here. They've since moved to Vegas, but they moved out here. And they moved from Indianapolis. They got tired of Indianapolis. They moved out here, and neither one of them had a job. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. They're married now. Neither one had a job prospect out here. They didn't know anything about it. They wanted to move to Seattle, so they just up and moved. And they saved up the money that they had when they were working in Indianapolis, and they put that towards the deposit, and they were able to come out here. Now, how they were able to get a place, I don't know. It wasn't like a regular apartment building. It was kind of like someone had a part of their house. It was just a owner type deal, owner type landlord that let them rent. And they probably just used their past income or their past employer and put it on there. I don't know the details of that, but I do know that they came out here without a job. Okay? And they were able to make it. And they were able to get a job, both of them able to get jobs much later. Even change jobs because maybe it wasn't a good fit, different things like that. And later on, they decided that it was really too expensive to live in Seattle. They liked it, but it was too expensive at that point in time in their life for what they could truly afford based on everything, right? And so it's just going to get worse. And they want to live in Tacoma. They want to live in a certain part of Seattle, and it's just that place there in Seattle they wanted to live is just astronomical. And especially now, right? If they didn't strike at that point in time, it was too late. We're talking literally we've been here for 7 years total. That was 9 years ago, right? Now it's impossible. They wouldn't have a chance. But those days are gone. You can't just move here, typically, without anything and kind of rough it and make it to you, fake it till you make it type of thing. It's not like that anymore. Now it is very, very competitive. And that's why I said here is a very turbulent place because it may be one way for a season and then it's drastically different the next, and things change so quickly that if they try to do that today, they would be homeless. Like they wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like it's so competitive. It was competitive then, but it's ultra competitive now. Like the number of people coming here, if there's like a graph, it's just going up like this. Like it's a huge flow of people. Even during a sickness, it didn't really slow that down. Even when there was uncertainty about Amazon, it didn't slow that down. Like nothing has slowed the flow of people. There may be something, or maybe several different things that might, but there hasn't been anything as of yet that's done that. So as a result, every type of job you're looking for, whether it is, a janitor job or being a nurse, everything here is hard to find. Now, one thing that I will say that they need more of are doctors by far. They need more doctors here than anything. Because they're, like, for example, I had a little bump on my arm, which now went away. I was afraid it was something weird. This was last year. This was early December. I called and scheduled an appointment for the doctor. And I didn't want any other doctor. I just want to go with that one doctor that I'd been to once. And I went there just to say mind you, I had been in this area for 5 years, never had a doctor. So finally, Noelle kept pushing. So I went to get a doctor, and I had to get one because I went and had the gallbladder surgery. So I needed someone to help me take a look at me and make sure I was healing up and doing well after I did my, after the post-op with the surgeon. So anyhow, the doctor, that same doctor, I called early December, and I didn't get an appointment until January the 15th, I think it is, or something like that. I can't remember, but it's like middle of January. So literally more than a month out. Now, people will say, well, it's the sickness. That's not necessarily just the case. It's always been like that. Like, getting a doctor is hard. Like, not hard in terms of obtaining. Sometimes it is. There are some that just aren't accepting anyone. But just getting an appointment, like, oh, I'm sick, I'm going to go to the doctor tomorrow, is not going to happen. It just, there's so many people and there's so few doctors. So the region has grown. One of the things that people will say, well, what's something I should know about? That's one of them. The region has grown so rapidly that medical can't keep up with it. Even in Tacoma, the behavioral health hospitals, one of them was in that documentary, they built two. Well, one was built. The other one was approved shortly after that to build that, because we're under capacity for that. Now, that's kind of everywhere for those types of facilities, but we're under capacity. Two brand new big hospitals. Not only that, the Children's Hospital, they're building a whole new, complete, separate, giant hospital that's going to be a children's hospital only. Right now, it's kind of, the Children's Hospital is kind of a part of another one. This is going to be a hospital by itself. And they're going to overbuild it because the city is not quite the size to fill up all of the space in that building they're going to build, but they overbuilt it because they feel like in the next 10 years, we will max that building out. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of the situation. And there's other plans for other hospitals and facilities because we just don't have enough given the surge of people that move in here. And Tacoma's not going to be the Tacoma that you know of it in 2021 in the year 2030. And a lot of people will say, well, that's most places. But I'm talking drastic shifts, drastic changes. Like, it here grows very quickly. And I can't stress that enough. It's going to be very, very different in the next little bit of time. With that said, I think that if you're wanting to move out here, plan way ahead when it comes to the job. Now, some people will tell me, oh, I already have a job, and a lot of times they ask me about where to live. If you don't have a job, it makes things even more challenging, because now it's not a matter of I have a set place and that's kind of my point of reference and I can kind of find an apartment or a house kind of close to there or something. It's like, it's a blank slate. You don't know anything. So the first thing I would definitely do is try to find a job. That would be the very first thing, is try to find a job of some sort that's going to pay what you need, that type of thing. Have a general idea as to how much money you're going to need. Now, if you're coming by yourself, things are going to be a whole lot better than if you're coming with a crew. See, I have a crew. If you're coming with like what I have, it's going to be very expensive, and if they eat the way my kids eat, my kids eat more than 4 grown men. You know what I mean? Like, they eat a lot. But if you're coming with like family and they don't have a job, then it's going to be really challenging, right? If you're coming by yourself, it makes it a little bit easier. And I would literally just try to find a studio apartment. Now, some people hate that. They hate going to an apartment. But unless you bankroll, it's going to be difficult. Now, there are some people who are in the honey spots, right? The honey spots are California folks, people from Hawaii, people from New York City or Boston, and they sell their place and they have a buttload of cash. Now, that's different because they have a lot of money that they can throw at the problem. It's different, right? That's different. If you're just normal and you don't have that, or if you have money in general, if you have some money, not a problem. But if you're just kind of average and you have a little bit of a savings, a little bit of this, and you have bills, you really have to plan it, because otherwise it could be a problem. I try to tell people, like I told the lady that said, she made a mistake and she lived in Seattle as opposed to moving to Tacoma, right? Is that, there's a reason why I say certain things. It's not a dig against Seattle. If you can afford Seattle, live there. But make sure you can afford it, right? And that means in all aspects. It's not just the apartment or the house. There's other things that are so expensive there. So I would say make sure you focus on getting a job. Try to get like a studio apartment or some of those little tiny micro apartments. There's a lot of them down here. Seattle has a few. Try to go that route. They're typically fully furnished. I would sell most of your stuff because it's cheaper in the long run. If you sell everything that you have, not only will you get a little extra cash, but you don't have to worry about moving crap. Just bring your clothes. If everything can fit in a suitcase, well, you don't have a lot of money, everything can fit in like 2 or 3 suitcases and that's it, then great. If you don't have any pets, that's even better, because pets are expensive when it comes to here, because a lot of places are going to charge you a lot. If you have big dogs, you're not going to probably find too many places that are going to be cool with that. Excuse me. If you have more than 2 animals, they're not going to be cool with that. Some places only want you, if it's a dog, you can only have 1 dog. Some places allow you to have 2 cats. But you can't have like 2 cats and a dog like what we have, because that would be a problem, right? The most you can have is 2. And if you have 2, it's usually either going to be 2 small dogs or 1 dog only. Doesn't matter the size. Or you can have 2 cats. In a lot of places you can't have anything, right? The place up in Seattle, I couldn't have a pet whatsoever. So I would literally minimalize your life as much as possible. Make it so that you can easily move. If you have a car, you may want to consider selling it. Why? Because it's expensive. It really is. Like, you have to think about your parking, because some places in Seattle, especially, not so much down here, but in Seattle, you have an apartment, you have to pay for the parking space, right? So it's not like it's just a given. You have to pay for the parking space. So think about that. Some people have these big old cars. That's the other thing. If you have a huge car, like a big old huge Navigator or something, or, a Suburban, it's going to suck, because, especially in Seattle, it's narrow, tiny, a lot of small spaces. It's a city that's really trying to push away from so many cars. And so big vehicles don't do well there. Not saying you can't do it. It's going to be frustrating, right? Down here, it's a little different. Up there, it's challenging, right? Especially in Seattle proper. Now, outside of that, it's a little different. But everything's expensive, right? It adds to your expense. But if you can get away from all those things, have very limited things you're bringing to lower your cost, move into a small apartment that's furnished. Some of these places are already fully furnished. So you don't have to worry about that. And then get a job. You may have to go and work someplace minimum wage, right? To kind of get by, to get your foot in the door, right? You may have to do that. That would be what I would do. Then I would focus on, and some people don't want to do that, right? But you may have to work at a fast food place or something like that, which there's plenty that are hiring. You may have to work in some of the warehouses, some of those places that are in critical need. You may have to work there making $14, $15 an hour, but at least you have something, and then you have very little expenses, right? That's what I would do. Then focus on getting the better job, the bigger job later. But yeah, I wouldn't just move out here. And you're right, finding jobs here are super, super competitive. There's a lot of people gunning for jobs. And so you're stacked up with some pretty stiff competition. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. We talk about everything there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.